Hey, how you doing, folks out there in YouTube land? This is Tom Baggett with Spread Music Now, and I'm here with my friend and former colleague and overall amazing human being, Everett Bradley. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
thanks, Tom.
how you doing, man?
Good, good. Great to be here. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here. Um, for folks watching who don't know your remarkable biography, Everett is a first call touring and recording artist, musician, percussionist, vocalist, dancer, he's the triple threat, writer, producer, um, and his remarkable career has included work with um, a huge, diverse cast of musical luminaries: Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, David Bowie, Quincy Jones, Hall and Oates, his current gig with John Bon Jovi. Um, God, the list just goes on and on. Beyond the stage, Everett's a Grammy-nominated writer and an actor. He's a regular sketch booth singer for SNL. Um, he was the director and band leader for NBC's Meredith Vieira show, for which he also wrote the theme song. And just a couple years ago now, and I'd love to get an update on this, Everett provided the music and arrangement for the revamped 42nd Street. Um, he's also the writer and star of the holiday funktacular Holidelic, which unfortunately did not happen this past December. Wait, no, it
Mm,
did. I'm sorry. I'm just concerned about this year is what I was trying to get
yeah,
there.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah. And he's working on his own one-man show. Um, And other than being on the advisory board for Spread Music Now, Everett is also a board member and a musical director for the nonprofit Say, which addresses kids with stuttering issues. So yeah, it's quite a quite a resume, quite a bio, and it's just great to have you here. So uh the overall context of these interviews is artists and music business people and educators dealing with the pandemic. And how's your pandemic been? What a
Oh.
question.
Well, it's been both. It it's been rough. It's been tough, and it's also been inspiring. And let me just quickly explain that idea. It's been rough because I got sick with COVID at the end of March. I don't know how it happened. I was being extra careful about keeping germs out of my home, but for some reason they stuck to me, and I went down for a good 3 weeks, a month, um, and to the point where I was on the phone with an ER doctor trying to decide if I should go to the hospital or not. And at the time, the hospitals were completely overrun, and it was very scary, and people didn't know what this was and how to control it, and what drugs help and any of that. So but I ended up having to stay home, thank God, and I got through it. I have residual headaches from it, migraines that happen throughout the day, but they are improving and getting better. So I'm thankful for that. And I think, according to my doctors, they all suggest that this takes time to exit your body. So I just need to exercise some patience, but also inspired just because I haven't been able to work. I've been reflective, and I think actually the whole world has been that way. As we are stuck in our homes, we are forced to look at our lives deeper and look at our kids and realize who they really are, and wonder if we are really happy with what we're doing, or having time to like read books, or to listen to music, or to notice the trees leaves changing, things, nature that we miss. So it's been a really an interesting time.
It's slowing down sometimes can lead to some insights.
Yeah,
No, you're in the Bronx, and
I'm
obviously,
in Harlem.
oh, you're in Harlem. That's right.
Yeah,
Um, and obviously, New York was hammered by COVID early and hammered
yeah.
hard. Are you concerned about the recent increase in cases that's going on in certain neighborhoods and
And I think e- everyone is being extra cautious. And I have to say, New York is pretty good about masking up and staying like distant from each other. Like when we got hit hard, everyone was like, "All right, we need to get out of this now," and everyone totally stepped up and made it happen. But now that we're getting these little surges, people started getting relaxed because our numbers
Mm.
got down. But I think that New Yorkers are disciplined and that we will get through this.
Yeah, it's it's disconcerting to see the second wave happening in a lot of states where there
Mm,
was very little COVID early on. The numbers are awful
mm,
right now. Um,
yeah.
the quicker we get over this, the quicker we can all get back to work. We got to have healthy people, you know.
Hey.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, you mentioned you haven't been able to work. Obviously, touring's everything stopped. What have you been doing to fill the time? Have you been dealing with that? I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but financially,
Uh,
this is a hit to
I
people.
can give you a quick overview. Well, I was supposed to go out on tour with Bon Jovi. We were supposed to rehearse in Nashville in April. Obviously, all that got canceled, and his original idea was just to put off the album for a year. Well, we had an opportunity to do a performance for iHeartRadio about a month ago, and we shot it in Nashville. And John had this great idea to just stay there with the camera crew that was already in place and shoot live performances of the whole album. So the album got released this fall, and we are able to safely promote it. So the album's out, and our performances can be seen because we shot them, and that way that we can stay safe and within, you know, the guidelines, so we can get through this.
Adaptation.
But so that's good that work has picked up again, but in a very, very different way. But I'm very thankful that we have a leader who listens to to the world and how to stay safe and healthy. But other than that, I have slowly dabbled in trying to get my creative juices going again. It was difficult being sick, but I'm starting to emerge from that and starting to get ideas again. But it's been rough. I mean, I have to say, I have been working steadily for 10 years without a break. And
I can attest to this, by the way.
yes, you can. And I have to say, I just took advantage of this downtime to rest and regather my thoughts and to, I don't know, plan, scheme, and it's felt okay to do that. It's feeling okay.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, look,
Yeah,
it's good to rest. Some people have made themselves crazy trying to figure out how to stay busy, and others have taken advantage of the opportunity to meditate. Um, you know, I guess some folks have had to stay completely isolated, whereas others have had to be out on the front lines. It's different
yeah.
for everybody.
I have started working on a record though,
Oh, that's great.
an album of love songs.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes,
Um,
covers.
are you gonna do this with a band?
I think so. A very, very small, small band.
I mean, you have
Like,
access. to so many amazing musicians.
That's true. But I think I'm gonna just put together um, just a trio, including myself. So me and two other people
Oh, right on.
to do something really small and interesting and do covers of love songs
Oh, right on. Now,
and
so
rearrange them, reimagine them.
are you talking about a lot of ballads or
No
some burners?
burners, of course, you know me. There's got to be some booty shaking
Something
somewhere.
right on. No, it's funny. We're talking booty shaking, but then you are a part of Bon Jovi. Um, you've been a part of a lot of substantial, significant rock ensembles over the years. I heard a remarkable interview with Lenny Kravitz the other day. He's out pushing a memoir, an autobiography,
Nice.
and early on, he would he was bringing demos to record companies, and they kept looking at him quizzically and saying, Why aren't you doing hip hop?" And the clear issue there is a little obvious bias. It's like, this is an African American man. He's playing rock music. Let's forget about the fact that Jimi Hendrix ever existed. He's right there.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there was like this disconnect between the industry, confronted by a black man who wasn't doing hip hop, and they were utterly confused. Um, does this resonate in any way? Have you ever had people question, how are you playing in Hall and Oates and Bon Jovi and rock bands like this?
That's a really good question. Well, I guess that would take us back to Indiana, where I grew up in Muncie, and I think my formative years I grew up in a white neighborhood, so all my buddies were listening to Aerosmith, Billy Joel, um, and Carly Simon, and ZZ Top. It was that. But at home, I had older brothers and sisters, and they were listening to Motown, and they were listening like the sound of Philadelphia. So I was getting both at the same time. And I think over time, I just developed sort of a deep appreciation for both, and my musical abilities allowed the two to mingle and mix. And that idea continued to play out after I left Indiana and moved to New York. And I think people smelled it on me.
Well, you gravitated towards what you were familiar with, most familiar with, and what you had been, influenced by.
Yeah, exactly. So I never tried to shed my white rocks skin that I had, or makeup, and I just brought it along with me. And I think that is one of the major reasons why I ended up in those sort of bands, like a Springsteen or like a Bon Jovi, or even the Hall and Oates, which is like rock and soul,
Well,
which is
Blue Eye,
actually,
I think, is what they.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's sort of an explanation for that.
Now, this also coincided. So I know the bio. Let me try to get this right. Your father was a phys ed instructor. Is that correct?
He was. He
Oh,
was a coach as well. I mean, he was a high school principal,
oh, gotcha.
but
Right.
on the but he was very involved in athletics and
Now,
physical education.
you had, if I recall, and this is germane to the whole mission for Spread Music Now. You had an influential teacher who noticed that you had an aptitude for theater and for singing, and that wasn't really necessarily something that your folks expected, but it was something that definitely became deeply involved in. Tell me a little bit about your music education background and your arts background and education in general, because you gravitated towards theater from a fairly early age, and that became a really important part of your career overall.
Uh, well, okay. I started piano when I was 10, and I started singing when I was about 13. And oh, there's saxophone in there too.
I didn't know.
And so by the time I got to high school, I was playing in the band, in the marching band, and I was also singing in the choir. And but I was an athlete the whole time, and my father. Basically, we were all as kids held at gunpoint to play a sport, whether it be wrestling or run track or play football or play tennis, or we all had to learn how to swim. There was just no argument with that. There was just no way we would get through the house without being a swimmer. So he was really adamant about it. I had have an older brother who was a professional football player. And so I'm the other boy in the amongst my siblings, and it was obvious to everyone that I was supposed to be next pro player.
Maybe baseball.
Obvious to everyone except myself.
Right.
And I really, really wanted to pursue music. Um, and so my mother, behind my father's back, uh, found a voice teacher to give me voice lessons and to help me prepare an audition for Indiana School of Music.
Huh.
I had already been accepted to Boston University as to major in engineering, and there were other schools that had sent me scholarships for football. So all of which I did not want to do. You can see where this is going.
I just want
So
to
anyway,
sing.
so I ended up, and my mother drove me to Indiana University. I did the audition, and the school gave me a scholarship. And I laid this all out for my parents. And my dad was like flabbergasted. He was like, a music school wants to give you money to study? Like that was just beyond him. I mean, my parents are like, Southern conservative types, and bless their hearts, they want the best for their kids. And also, they're not dumb. They're like black too, and they know that opportunities are not as plenty. And so, both of them were educators. My mother taught first grade forever, and my dad was a high school principal and an administrator. And so the way I was able to escape all of that was to attach education to my degree, my music degree at Indiana. So I have a degree to teach music K through 12.
Wow.
And I never really used it. It was just a way to get them off my back. But since coming to New York, I found that my education chops have really come into play in many ways.
It's interesting. A lot of the touring artists who I've worked with over the years, who I've maintained contact with, um, have found that their music degree has come in really handy during COVID. They have pivoted towards teaching, figured out how to actually teach because there's no other options available for them if they want to continue doing music, or I should say very few options. Um, and a number of folks have gotten really excited by this, by being able to teach virtually and do instruction, and they're looking at it now as an additional revenue stream for when they get off the road, when touring is able to commence again. And
Yeah.
a lot of them are starting to say, well, touring was, I mean, it's a tickets and t-shirts business, and touring was the only way to really make any money. Um, And so they sort of had to stay on the road. It's like the shark that if it doesn't keep swimming, it sinks. I don't know if that's apocryphal or a true thing, but now they're thinking, maybe we can adjust the intensity of our touring schedules because there is another way of making some money when we get back off the road.
Yeah.
It's had a big impact on a lot of people. You haven't at any point thought about teaching yourself, right?
Well, not as a means of income. It's by I use it as a contribution or as a donation to, say, the organization that I work with, and hopefully in Spread Music Now as well. Um, but what teaching also does for me is that it forces you to solidify your thoughts and your skill set, because you kind of have to if you're going to relate it to someone else. For instance, if I'm teaching music intervals, it makes me really commit to it and know it deeply before I pass on the information.
Mhm.
That's what I really like. And it helps me as a musical director when explaining my ideas or concepts. I feel like I have this really strong other skill set or voice to communicate with clarity, if that makes any sense.
It definitely makes sense. Um, so I mentioned it earlier. What's going on with 42nd Street?
Oh, well, of course, because of COVID, everything's on hold.
Right.
But the last rendition of it was uh, a run in Minneapolis at the Ordway Theater. That was in summer of 2019. And again, great reviews. And I'm really excited about it and excited to move forward. Just to let everyone know, I reimagined the orchestration, which a lot of it is classic and iconic, but I was able to keep some of those iconic parts and give it an urban feel, an urban contemporary feel.
Thank you for explaining that. I was about to ask you, oh yeah, by the way, can you explain that about, another version of 42nd Street like the high school theater group puts on, but it's a whole
Right.
reimagining of the sounds. Um,
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this show now is that it's a multicultural, multiracial cast, and so that's why it can exist in this era, because it's traditionally about the 40s and it's an all-white cast. So
but it's a
we
timeless
have.
story.
Hmm?
It's a timeless story though.
Yes,
It
it
just
is
needed a little
timeless.
bit of revamping to
Exactly.
get
So
continued
I'm
development.
really excited about it, and it's opened up a new set of chops for me to experiment with that I'm excited about.
Definitely, definitely. And I know you were sick and everything. You've got all your excuses, Everett. No, just but how's the one man show coming?
Woo! I have to say, I put it on hold for a while, for a long
I've
while.
heard this before.
But it's interesting that you brought that up. I was just speaking to the administrator and artistic director for uh, an artistic retreat that's in the middle of Italy called Umbria,
Oh yeah.
in the Umbria, Italy, and there's a castle there
Of course there
where
is.
they invite artists there and they give them room and board to make things, and so they have some availability, and I'm seriously considering booking myself there after the new year to finish my one-man show.
Nice. Oh, to finish it. You've been working on it.
Yeah, I just kind of hit it every now and then, but I haven't really really focused in on it to
Yeah.
really bring it home. It's a beast. It's a big monster of a thing, and I mean, you know, if you think that list of accomplishments is is big, this thing trying to house all of that is a real task.
Well, there's the thing about the one man show, obviously, is there's nobody else holding it down. It's got to be compelling from
I have the
get-go.
ultimate respect for people who make these things. It's just it's you have to really it takes a lot of concentration and uh and a lot of focus.
I imagine. So, one of the questions that I ask everybody, I started doing these interviews last fall, and it we weren't ever intending for the focus on YouTube that we have right now, but one of the questions that I ask everybody I interview is, what does the phrase music empowers mean to you? Just those two words. What does music empowers mean to you?
Uh I guess on a visceral level, just the idea of letting music take you places, letting music inspire you. And when I say letting, I do mean that, like allowing it to come into you and create something great. And it doesn't mean necessarily mean more music, but it means to teach, to make lives better, to improve our planet, to inspire reading or thought, or even with the metaphors that are sometimes portrayed in music, it helps for deeper understanding. So, yeah, music empowers.
Yes, it does. I It's great. Everybody has a different answer to that question, but it means something to everybody. It's a powerful phrase. Um, so obviously 2020's been one for the books, and you've been impacted on many levels in many ways. Um, what are your thoughts on the future? And not just on the future of your career or the music business, or just what are your thoughts in general on where we're headed? Are you optimistic? Are you concerned?
I am. I think that this country in particular is going through a certain sort of necessary therapy, if you will. And
Shock
there's
therapy?
a lot, yeah, shock therapy. And there are a lot of things that need to be fixed and sorted out. And I think that we had been pretending for a long time that things were okay, but it took um, some extreme behavior to wake us up to see what we need to do. And European countries have been doing this kind of work for a long time, and I'm realizing how young this country is, and that we are still growing and trying to figure out this experiment. So, but I'm really optimistic. I think a lot of great things are going to come out of it. I think, um, yeah, I think that we're going to learn how to actually take care of this earth. I think we could really learn how to take care of each other, and how to inspire each other, and how to create and grow. I'm really I'm I know it sounds dark to some people. I mean, the way things are happening right now, but I think that this is good. I think we're going to come out of this strong as a nation, as a world, and as individuals as well.
That's encouraging, and I really appreciate the optimism. Everett, it has been a real pleasure to see you. we've spoken a couple times, you know, in the last couple months, but
Yeah.
it's great to see your face, buddy.
Great to see you too. Thank you so much for doing this
Oh, thank you.
and
It's
and
my honor.
heading up this kind of work. It's so important, and we need more Toms
Oh,
around.
Everett. Thank you, man. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to checking in with you again soon. Uh,
Yep.
you take care, brother.
All right.